A violent snowstorm swallowed the road that night, erasing everything in white silence. A single father, already broken by loss, was driving home to the only thing he had left, his child, when he saw a woman collapsing in the snow. Stopping could cost him everything, but leaving her would haunt him forever. He didn't know her name, he didn't know her past, he only knew the cold had already taken too much from his life. What began as a desperate rescue in the middle of a storm became the moment two shattered lives found warmth again. This is a story about kindness, survival, and how one decision can melt even the most frozen heart.
The night the storm swallowed the road, it felt as though the world had decided to forget them. Snow fell not gently but with fury, like a white curtain dragged across the sky, erasing everything familiar. Headlights dissolved into halos, trees bent and groaned, and the cold pressed in with a weight that made breathing feel like a choice. Somewhere in that chaos, a single father drove on with numb hands and a heart that had long ago learned how to survive without warmth, unaware that this night would crack open a life sealed by grief and reshape it forever. If you believe in kindness and second chances, take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this exist because compassion still does. He had not planned to be on the road that late. Life as a single dad rarely followed plans anyway. His days were measured by packed lunches, scraped knees, unpaid bills, and the quiet, relentless ache of absence. Years earlier, winter had taken more from him than warmth. It had taken his wife in a sudden accident that left him holding a baby and a promise he did not know how to keep. Since then, he moved through the world carefully, efficiently, building walls where laughter used to live. Love became something practical, something he expressed through routine and responsibility rather than words. On this night, he was returning from an extra shift, chasing overtime to keep the lights on, trusting his old truck more than the weather report. The storm did not care about trust. The wind slammed against the doors, the tires fought for grip, and every mile felt like a negotiation with fate. He told himself to turn back more than once, but the image of his child asleep at home kept pulling him forward. Then he saw it, a shape at the edge of the road that did not belong to the storm. At first he thought it was debris. The closer he came, the more unmistakable it became. A person, bent low against the wind, moving with the slow, uneven steps of someone already losing a battle. Stopping was a risk. The road was slick, visibility nearly gone, and he had a child depending on him. Fear tightened his chest, but something older and deeper pushed past it. He pulled over, hazard lights blinking weakly through the snow, and stepped out into the howl. The cold bit instantly, sharp and merciless. The woman was barely standing, her coat too thin, her face pale beneath a crust of ice, and tears frozen on her lashes. She looked not just cold, but emptied, as if the storm had stripped her down to the last fragile thread. Getting her into the truck was not graceful. The wind fought them both, and his hands shook as much from memory as from temperature. Once inside, the heater coughed warm air like a promise still learning how to keep itself. She curled inward, clutching her arms, shivering in a way that made his stomach knot. He drove again, slower now, every sense tuned to the road and to the fragile life beside him. The storm roared on, but inside the cab, something shifted. The silence was thick, heavy with unasked questions and unshared pain. As the miles crawled by, he noticed the small things, the way her hands trembled even as warmth returned, the exhaustion etched deep into her face, not the kind that came from a long day, but the kind born of too many hard years stacked end to end. She carried herself like someone used to being invisible, to slipping through the cracks. He recognized that posture. It mirrored his own. Two strangers bound together by weather and fate, both carrying winters inside that no coat could shield. When they finally reached his town, The storm had quieted just enough to reveal the shapes of houses buried under snow. He could have taken her to the clinic or the shelter, and he knew he should, yet the roads were closing, and the night felt too dangerous to send her back into it. Against his better judgment, guided by something that felt like instinct and looked a lot like hope, he brought her home. The house was modest, worn but warm. Toys lay scattered in the living room, evidence of a life still capable of joy. The smell of soup lingered faintly, a reminder of simple care.
She sat at the table, wrapped in blankets, steam rising from a mug he placed before her. The warmth seemed to thaw more than her skin. Color returned to her cheeks, and with it, a cautious awareness. She looked around as if memorizing proof that safety could exist. He watched from a distance, guarding his heart, telling himself this was temporary, a kindness offered and soon completed. He had learned not to invite permanence. Permanence had once betrayed him. The storm raged through the night, sealing them in. In that shared stillness, something softened. She helped in small ways, folding laundry, washing dishes, moving with a gratitude that felt almost reverent. He saw how careful she was with everything, as if afraid to break not the objects but the moment itself. His child woke in the morning and accepted her presence with the unfiltered trust only children possess. Laughter returned to the house in shy bursts, surprising him with its sound. Each laugh felt like a crack in the ice around his heart, unsettling and strangely welcome. Over the following days, as roads reopened and life resumed, she stayed. Circumstances tangled together, practical at first. Her car had been abandoned miles back, her job lost when the storm kept her away, her apartment gone after months of missed payments. She had been walking that night not toward something, but away from everything. He listened without prying, recognizing the weight of starting over with nothing but resilience. In her story, he heard echoes of his own, different losses, same emptiness. He did not fall for her all at once. Love did not rush in like a movie scene. It crept. It arrived in the way she sat with his child during homework, patient and encouraging. In the way she cooked meals that filled the house with warmth he had forgotten could exist. In the way she listened to him, truly listened, without trying to fix what was broken or pretend it had never shattered. She did not ask him to thaw faster than he could. She simply stayed warm beside him, letting time do its quiet work. Still, fear lingered. He had built his life around control, around minimizing risk. Opening his heart felt like stepping back into a storm without a coat. There were nights he lay awake, listening to the familiar sounds of the house, wondering how much he could afford to lose again. She carried her own doubts, scars that made her flinch at the thought of belonging. Two people circling the same fragile truth, careful not to disturb it. Change came not with grand gestures, but with small acts of courage. A hand held a moment longer than necessary. A smile shared across the kitchen. The realization that the house no longer felt hollow. Winter loosened its grip, snow melting into rivers that ran along the streets, carrying away the last evidence of that night. Yet the memory of it remained, a reminder of how close they had come to missing each other entirely. He found himself laughing more, his shoulders less tense, his heart responding in ways he thought were gone for good. She found stability, not just in a roof and routine, but in being seen, valued, and safe. Together they built something cautious and real, honoring the past without letting it dictate the future. His child thrived in the presence of another source of care, another steady hand. The family they formed was not born of perfection, but of choice, renewed daily. The storm that once threatened to take everything had given him something instead. It taught him that rescue could flow both ways, that opening a door could save more than the person standing outside.
Love, he learned, did not erase loss. It lived alongside it, warming the spaces grief had frozen solid. In rescuing her, he had unknowingly offered his own heart a way back to life. Just before we reach the end, take a moment to comment below and share what part of this journey resonated with you the most. Your words matter more than you know. As spring settled in, sunlight filled the rooms, and the past felt less like a weight and more like a chapter. They did not forget the storm. They honored it as the beginning, the moment two lives crossed at their lowest and found a way forward together. His heart, once sealed against the cold, beat strong and open, warmed by a love that arrived quietly and stayed. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in hope, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the power of kindness and second chances. Sometimes, all it takes is one brave stop in the middle of a storm to change everything.